What's happening, people? Welcome back to Scarfy Spurs Talk. In today's live, we're going to be talking mainly about the potential move for Dominic Solanke to Tottenham, which has broke kind of out of nowhere in the last 24 hours or so, but also will be general Spurs transfer update. And as always, I'm joined by admin of the Scarfy Spurs Talk page, Lewis. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you for having me on again, and I'm happy to be here.
No, it's great to have you on once again. If you're listening live on YouTube, please do smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so really quick as well, and it helps the channel grow. Before we get started today, I mean, you may have seen it across all socials, but we've got a new channel intro for the 2024-25 season. It's a special one created by one of my members, the Scarfy Spurs Talk team, so a massive shout out to them. So here's, going to show it now. Let me know what you think. I think that's the best one there. I'm certainly really excited. I mean, it's a good season ahead, and I think it's a good intro as well. There might be an outro coming as well, but I just wanted to drop that for people who haven't seen it. But I do want to crack straight into it. Well, the person who created the intro is in the chat, Aaron. So big up to Aaron for creating that. But Lewis, I'll kick it off with you. So we've been linked recently to Dominic Solanke. So actually, firstly, I'll read out a post, and it is from Fabrizio Romano. It says, exclusive. Tottenham explore move for Dominic Solanke. He's among targets for Spurs. Difficult deal is a key player for Bournemouth and Iriola. No formal bid to Bournemouth so far. Spurs exploring options to bring in new striker, potentially new winger based on opportunities. Firstly, Lewis, the simple question: would you be happy with Dominic Solanke at Spurs?
Yeah, I would be, to be honest. I think he's a great player. I won't say no, of course. I mean, from my perspective, it's whoever Ange Postecoglou wants is who I want. So if Ange wants him, then I want him. It's as simple as that to me, anyway. But I think if Ange Postecoglou wants him, I want him. As I've said, I think he's a great player. I think he would add a lot to our team, and yeah, I wouldn't mind signing him at all.
No, I wouldn't mind as well. I honestly don't have a problem with it. Do you think, firstly, there's better out there? Being honest, and can you understand why some Spurs fans may be overwhelmed when they hear names like Ivan Toney going about?
I don't think there's much better in the Spurs budget that we can go for, if I'm completely honest with you, because the striker market is quite. It's hard to navigate, if I'm honest, and the strikers are easily priced out of moves. If you look at people like Victor Osimhen, Napoli won't let him go for about more than 100, 150 million, which is pretty ridiculous. Alexander Isak as well. He's had 1.5 good seasons at Newcastle, and they've already slapped 100 million plus on him. We will never pay for anyone like that. So I think for the Spurs budget, you will struggle to find people that fit our system and are as good as Solanke or Toney.
No, I think that's fair. What does this mean now for Richarlison? Because when we signed Richarlison with Harry Kane there, if in my back of my mind, I thought we're not going to have two strong strikers for very while. This is meaning that Harry Kane could potentially leave. I think Levy's think he's not getting any older. How do you kind of view this? Is it the end for Richarlison, or do you not view it like that?
I mean, if Dominic Solanke walks through the door, I do think it's a little bit I do think it is maybe the end for Richarlison, because I can't see him getting much game time. It depends obviously how Solanke plays, and if he walks straight in and starts putting goals in for fun, then yeah, I can't see him getting in. So it all depends if how Solanke, if he was to join, how he was to play. But I think if a player like him, I couldn't see Richarlison getting much game time.
Well, do you see that astronomical bid that we're all talking about coming in from Saudi? Can you actually see how? I know we joke about it. We talked about Richarlison a lot, and it is Saudi Arabia. We know the money's there, but can we see that coming in for Richarlison? Are they that easily fooled? I suppose is the question here.
No, I don't see it happening at all, to be honest. I just think it was a little bit far fetched, and we were kind of clutching at straws with it. If I'm completely honest, I mean, if it happens, then yeah, it happens. But I don't think it will. I think Richarlison will stay this season, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so do I. And would you be happy with that, Richarlison staying and having two strikers in Richarlison, Solanke competing? Do you think that's healthy?
Yeah, of course, I wouldn't be against that at all. I mean, I think if you a team that wants top four and a team who wants to win the Europa League, for instance, in ourselves, I think you can't. I think you got to have competition for places. It's why Man City win the league year in year out is because they have competition for places. They have quality players in every position, and
Yeah,
we're
we
not
don't
going to
have that.
progress. We don't have that. We're not going to progress up the league, and we're not going to make it far in competitions if we don't have competition and don't have like interchangeable positions in our squad.
Okay, fair enough. We will come back to Solanke. I want to divert a little bit because this morning the club announced that they've received approval to host up to 30 major non-footballing events per year, including concerts, rugby, boxing, and NFL at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Lewis, do you have a problem with this? And if so, can you understand? If not, should I say, can you understand why some fans have? Because if you think about it theoretically, it should bring money into the club. Are we seeing the positive effects of that?
Not yet. At least I hope not yet, because I think theoretically it's money in, and I'm not against that at all, because it's where this money goes is the issue that I currently have. It's because I don't see it being invested in the squad as of yet. So obviously, you have to wait for the transfer window to end to maybe see some of that. But theoretically, it's a great thing because obviously more concerts, more rugby, more NFL, all of this boxing. It's just more money. It's millions, honestly. I was at the Travis Scott concert a few weeks ago. When that happened, I came back. I saw it. We grossed nearly 10 million from that. From that the few hours I was there, we Spurs have made close to 10 million from that. That's crazy, and that's why things like this are so good. And it's a great thing. The only thing I can see that it being a negative side, and why fans are against it, is because we are a football club, and our stadium is becoming a little bit of a tourist attraction, which I agree with, because I think having the Skywalk, having the F1 go-kart thing, it's nice to have, but people that are not football fans are going there, and it's making us look like a bit of a tourist attraction, which is the kind of side that you can look at it at. And there's obviously the other side of bringing the money. I'm quite 50-50 of it but I think overall I'll look at it as a positive thing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think that it's great, and I think that you have a problem with that. Then maybe you have a problem yourself. But where I will agree is that we haven't seen the positive effect of that yet. Why, I don't know necessarily. I don't quite understand how it works. I'm not going to lie and be honest with you here. But I think there'll come FFP rules, and I think there'll be eventually a cap come in, whether it be in a year or two's time. So I think we have to spend the money now. We have to back Ange. His system in particular requires high-level players, in particular firstly, but also depth in every position. It's a high demanding system. We know that. We've seen that. It's a lot of pressure on defence. We need to have good players, and we don't. The reality is, as a chairman and as a football club, we have to have an ambition at the very top, which is to close the gap eventually on the top two teams in England. And how are we going to do that? They pretty much both teams have two strong players in every position, bar maybe a couple of positions. I dissected our team, and you could argue we don't even have it's 1.5 in majority of positions. That what takes you to that next level, and it's about being bolder. And when we have spent the money, we haven't done it well enough. So that's what will take us to the next level. But generally, it's a good thing if it's managed in the right way, and Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is prioritised, whether it is or not. I think you could debate. Also, I think another thing that will help, and I just want to suggest it to you, Lewis, but I want to see Daniel Levy. If it's not Daniel Levy, someone on that board, or the sporting director, or someone in recruitment, a scout, talk about the project at Tottenham under Ange Postecoglou, because as fans we don't know. He could be gone in November. He could be here for the next 6 years. We don't know. A lot of it depends on how we get on. But we will talk about this project. Surely it'd be nice to know from the chairman what is the thinking behind it, because I think patience is needed. But we need to hear, don't we, what's going to happen? I think that's what's needed. I think it'd make a big difference. Do you think?
It could, yeah. Obviously, we don't really get much communication from Daniel Levy at all throughout the season, which is maybe a little bit worrying. That he doesn't say how things are. He doesn't say he's thinking behind decisions. He just does things, and he never really explains to us why. He's never really told us, as you say, that what he's thinking is behind Ange and how many years he sees him at the club and how he'll back him or how much money he's getting. He doesn't say anything like that. He's a very mysterious man, shall we say? So I think more communication needs to be that from Daniel Levy in essence of how long Ange Postecoglou will be here. From my personal view, I can see him being here for 5 years, but that's if he's backed in the transfer market. I think he could be here for half a decade if he's backed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And do you think, we put you on the spot now, do you think he'll win a trophy if he's backed in that half a decade? If so, how many? Will it be more than one? What are you thinking?
If he's backed, I think we'll win. I think we'll win probably maybe an FA Cup in about a year's time if he's backed by then. We could win the Europa League. It all depends how we treat it. If we treat it as if we treat it as and then go for it as much as we possibly can, we can win that. We definitely can. Just from our score quality, in its own, I think we can. It's just how it's how Ange Postecoglou treats it. If he's throwing out our youth and our sort of B team sort of peak players, then we won't go far. But if he goes in there with his full strength team, we can win the Europa League this season.
I think we can, but again, we talk about needing two strong players in every position. This is an example of that. Again, because the way we play, I think the new format. I mean, you play one in the league, I think, and that's not a small league either. They go on about player welfare, but end up playing more games. But I think that's more reason for needing, as we both said, two strong players. Or I get you can't have on par, and I get that causes problems. Maybe the Arsenal goalkeeper situation, or if you had two Haalands, it causes a situation. We need players at a higher level than Emerson at right back, and I love Richarlison, but he can't be a starting striker. By all means, back up. Why not? But next, I want to move on to Ange Postecoglou, who has confirmed that Tottenham are focused on signing a new striker this month, and the one that fits his specific mould, so his specific system. That reporting that this morning was Alistair Gold. I mean, we have touched on Solanke, and it's what the show's about. So, Lewis, for you, does Solanke suit the system? Because I looked at him and went, I think he probably does. I think there's players that suit the system a bit more. I don't look at Solanke and go, oh, he's quick. But he probably does suit the system, doesn't he, if you think about it?
I think he does. I genuinely believe he does. I mean, I said this on a show maybe a few days ago, a week ago, that it annoyed me how many times we're crossing the ball into the box and it's Son in there. And it frustrated me a lot. And I looked at his stats, Solanke, and aerial duels in the air. He's very good in the air. It's a known fact. He's very tall. He's got that aerial presence. And if we're the crosses from Kulusevski, from Maddison or Brennan Johnson, whatever, going into the box, and Solanke's there to meet it, we could be scoring headed goals for fun, or we generally could be, because a lot of the time we're crossing it in, or when the Spurs fans say, "Oh, Timo Werner runs the byline, crosses it in." If we have a natural striker. We saw it again on the other day, I think, when we played K-League All-Stars. Timo Werner cutting across, and there's a natural striker in Will Lancashire to meet it. He has that instinct, the instinctive run. Solanke has that as well. He finds the space, he knows where it is, and he makes those runs. So us crossing it in, running to the byline, cutting it in, he could have a field day. He really could.
I think he could, and not being funny. And I think there's probably better out there than Solanke. But at the end of the day, he suits Ange's system. The manager wants him, you take him. I mean, fans have got to be careful in a way because they moan about managers not being backed and signings not coming in, which I think is fair enough. When both of those things arguably happen, in particular players come in, there's also some that are moaning. For me, it's a case of it's better than what we've got. And I love Richarlison. I keep saying this, and honestly, I mean, the recent record for me isn't proving it. But throughout the season, and I wanted to sign him, to be honest with you. And when we did, I fully backed him. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I was very keen. I don't think we should have paid the money. I said that at the time. But the player I wanted, and I liked his hunger and that. But he's never going to stay completely fit. Solanke is going to stay fit, to be honest, and he is going to give you guaranteed goals. I'm not going to sit here and go, he's going to get you 25, 30 goals, but he's going to get you more goals, I think, anyone else of that forward line, and up there with Son, and it takes the pressure off Son, because always become a one-man team, not Harry Kane now. We should have been Son, and that's the problem. So you've got to be careful. Benito says, I don't care about having one good season on the price. I'm taking Solanke. Exactly. We don't pay the money. I know we won't pay towards it, but it's not our money that's going towards it. And it doesn't matter about the season, or if it causes a risk. Of course it's a risk. It didn't really work for him at Liverpool. One good season at Bournemouth. But he's better than what we've got. We've got no one to get us more than, I don't think, 15 goals a season, to be totally honest with you. Whereas I think, I'm going to put it out there, Solanke comes in, and I think he's in the 20s already, mid to late 20s, being honest. So I think that is a step up in what we want to achieve. Lewis, I'm going to put you on the spot as well, so I apologise in advance. Let's, hypothetical world, Solanke comes in. How many goals roughly do you see him getting next season?
Well, he played 38 games last season, and he started 37 of them, and he scored 21. So I think if you give him the service that we currently have in our Spurs squad, barring Bournemouth and where they finished with 21, I think he'll score 28. If I'm honest, I think he could run the golden boot, and that's not me. That is not me being super out there. I'm not trying to fully back the transfer, but if you just go off the stats, which I have, we have quality. We have better quality going forward than Bournemouth. I think that's a pretty much known fact. I'm not trying to have a go at Bournemouth or anything. I just think players like Son, players Kulusevski, Madison is quality, and if the passes that and Solanke gets onto him, he can have a field day. So I'm pretty sure he will score in the mid to late 20s, and I don't even think that's the Golden Boot winner, because I think players like Ollie Watkins or Haaland will probably even win the Golden Boot ahead of that.
Yeah, I don't think Solanke will win the Golden Boot. Well, he might, and I hope you're right in terms of he's up there. I think you're probably looking at 25, 26, but it doesn't sound as good. Dutch says he scored 15 goals at penalties. You could look at that two ways. You can go that's not a lot. But what I will say is I think it'd be harder in Bournemouth because he's not going to get the service that. Well, I don't think you get a lot more at Tottenham, but you still should get more service than you do at Bournemouth. And at Bournemouth, you're playing top level oppositions. It's hard to score goals against the Man City. It's easier, I think, in a Spurs team personally. But Solanke took to Instagram this late afternoon and said no. Well, he posted like an image. It's like a picture, and it says, "No dream is too big. No goal too ambitious. Dare to dream and dare to make it a reality." That post remains up after 3.5 hours as we speak. I'm totally not looking into so much, but we've got the to dare bit in it to link to Spurs, and we're talking about ambition. I mean, it's a big step up to Spurs. Do you take anything from that? I really, really try not to, and generally don't. But that looks good if you like Solanke, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, he could just be. He might have just. He just could be at home, and he's just gone. Why not post that? He might not even know the Spurs links. Like he might not even know anything about it. So I don't think you can read into it at all.
Not?
I mean, I think just because we're Spurs, I think a lot of our fans are really getting excited about it. But I think it could mean absolute anything. He probably has our fan base on strings, to be honest, just by doing that. So I mean,
maybe that's why he's done it. Maybe it's why he's done it.
I wouldn't read into that at all. I mean,
we're so desperate. I mean, myself, I'm so desperate for a sign in that forward line. I'm going to celebrate this rate, whoever it is, within reason, of course. But I just want someone in, and I like our forward line. I think Johnson offers you a lot. I think Werner offers more than people give him credit for. If Richarlison stays fit, there is a player there, but that forward line isn't going to scare a top 6 opponent or your best teams in the league, your Liverpools, your Manchester United, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your Cities, etc. It isn't going to scare them, and that's the reality. That's the area of the pitch where we lack not necessarily depth, but quality of anywhere. And I don't know why we've spent so much of the window faffing about that midfield or linked to other centre-backs. Leave the defence and midfield alone for now. Come back to left-back and right-back cover. It wouldn't be the end of the world going in with Reguilon or someone having to cover right back. The priority is that forward line for me personally. Big up to everyone in the chat who's joining. The most recent being Jay, who's been greeted by others in the chat. Barney says, "Good point, Lois. As fans of ours, Spurs fan, I'd want that sign in. I guess like any other sign in, it does give you hope." Jay said, "I'll be taking Solanke and a winger. I also think that maybe 2 players out the door, Regular and Emerson Royale. I think that's a solid window. We will get on to a little bit about what a solid window looks like." Another post-rally goal this morning. A lot happened this morning. Nothing for the rest of the day, as Lewis would tell you. But this morning was a bit mad as I was waking up. So I was dealing that at the start of my holiday in Norfolk. It says here, it's understood that Bournemouth are bracing themselves for the potential departure of Dominic Solanke. So that is from Alistair Gold. So my question to you, Lewis, is obviously it's coming from a local source, but how much do you think Bournemouth will want for him? Because obviously he's homegrown, he's English, he's had a good season with them that really ramped up his value. He's not going to let him go like that, are they? They're going to want some form of negotiation involved in this, especially as they won't have a lot of time for the new season to bring someone else in. So what price do you think we're looking at?
I'll be honest. I mean, he's 2 years younger than Ivan Toney, and Brentford slapped 50 million on him. He could be 60 million. It really could be. I mean, he's their star man. As I said, it's like Newcastle selling their Isak. They don't want him to go because they see him as their star man. It's like us. Or it's like when we saw Harry Kane, you want to get as much money from him because he's your star man. For Bournemouth, he is their best player, their star player. You don't want to lose him, so they will probably slap 60, 65 million on him, to be honest.
Well, what I would do, and I want to hear your thoughts, Lewis, and maybe I'm being slightly harsh, but to bring the price down, because it's not going to happen with Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy isn't going to go in there and put in a 65 million bid. I think the fans come around to accept. It's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. Whether it's the right or wrong thing to do or not, it's just not going to happen straight away. Anyway, try and play hardball or low ball or whatever way you look at it when you're playing players. It's difficult ball, I call it. But I think that we could potentially trade a couple of players in it. I think Lo Celso will be too valuable to Bournemouth. I don't know if they know what to do with him. So I was thinking Oliver Skipp and Emerson Rowe, and then you bring the price down to what? I don't know, closer to 40 million, if not below.
Yes,
and I think it just makes it more realistic. We shift two players that I don't think we'd be able to shift otherwise. I mean, we upset AC Milan. We upset their Italians. Maybe payback for Euro 2020. But what do you think with that? Potentially trading players in the deal. I think he brings the price down. I always said that with Isak. It's never going to happen. But throw in Lo Celso. Throw in these players that bring the price down to make it more realistic for Daniel Levy and Tottenham, right?
It just depends with the players you throw in, of course. I mean, it obviously depends how much Bournemouth, well, it depends the positions Bournemouth are looking to bolster. I think you could put a player like Oliver Skipp. I think he needs to leave, to be honest. I think it's about time he goes. I think he needs to follow in the footsteps of what Harry Winks done, go to a championship team, probably fighting promotion, or a bottom half Premier League side where he can play, or he'll play a lot more than he is at Spurs, because he's just not going to get in the Spurs team. It's pretty confident of that. And so Oliver Skipp could be one to go. I'm pretty sure Bournemouth would maybe, I don't know what their midfield situation is like if they desperately need someone, but maybe him, maybe a Sergio Reguilon as well. It could lower the price, but the quality of the players too, I mentioned, I don't think he'll decrease it by that much.
Would you give Sergio Reguilon another chance? He's a player I quite like, to be honest with you. I think he's done well at Brentford, but it's whether he suits the system or not. And I like Davis as well, but not in an Ange system at left back.
I personally wouldn't give Reguilon the chance, because I think Adozi's just too strong. I don't think you can knock him off. I think he's probably one of the best players in the squad. I think the quality.
It's like I don't like the word backup, but instead of bringing left back cover in, we can focus on the forward line. Maybe with my thinking behind it.
Potentially, but I mean, to be honest, when he joined Man United, I got warning signs because how excited he was to be there, and like he really took to United quickly. And even after he left United and went to Brentford on loan, he was still putting up I think it was on Instagram. He was still putting up posts about congratulating Man United. When he's not a player anymore, he has left, but he doesn't do that for Spurs. There's warning signs. He does not want to be here anymore. I'm very confident of that.
Okay, but then that swings around about, isn't it? In terms of social media, are we looking into that kind of side of it too much? I mean, I think he enjoyed the opportunity to play for Man United, but Spurs are a big club as well. Maybe he's growing up, it's more about Man United. I don't know. I honestly don't know. We have touched on it, but what players would you look to move on? If it was your ideal window, Lewis, who would be the players that you would shift, being honest?
Well, Emerson Royale, the name keeps getting popped up. We know he's got to be moved on. I think he has to be moved on. I'd say probably Oliver Skipp, mentioned it again. I think he needs to be moved on. I think just for his career's sake as well, I think he's not going to get too much game time here. And if he wants a successful career, I think just for himself, I think he's just got to be moved on to a lower Premier League side or a Championship team, maybe like a Luton or a Burnley, who want to come straight back up, do what Harry Winks did, as I've said. Go to that lower team and then come back up. Like Harry Winks is going to be playing us in 2 weeks' time, and he only took a year to come back down. And he will start for Leicester. He wouldn't have started for us. So, I mean, player like that. I think it's just Richarlison as well. It's just if the fee comes in for him. If it's not, then I'm happy for him to stay. I think people have touched on Manor Solomon if he wants to leave, if he's going to go or not. Personally, I mean, he's only been here 1 season, and it was an injury-plagued season. He barely played, so I think he's still going to be given time. So I'll keep him. Lo Celso is another name get popped up. But again, I mean, is it another player we're going to have to find a replacement for that we just don't really want to? I mean, you might as well just keep him. I think he's a good player, and I think he's definitely got something to offer for us. I think maybe one of the 2 keepers as well, Brandon Austin or Alfie Wyman, because I just don't see the point of them being in, because they've been here for about my whole lifetime, and yet I've never seen them play.
What would you get for them, though? What are you going to have to like a loan with an obligation, isn't it, really?
Just for their career sake, because honestly, from the whole time I've known Tottenham, they've been at the club, but I've never seen them play a professional game for us. So
not given an opportunity, I don't think. I think that's half the problem, to be honest with you. But maybe they haven't shown enough in training. As I said before, there's a lot of things that that us, as fans, if you like, we don't see that. So it is hard to comment. But yeah, Whiteman lost to be on the scene for ages. Never really been given the opportunity. Players like Gill, I know that they've appeared in several games, but not really for more than 5-6 minutes. You can't, there's not enough to do in that. And when there's 3 or 4 changes as well, it's hard to make an impact. You have to start players. I'm a believer, and I know it's difficult to do, especially within Europe. But I think there's times we could have done it last season. Injury crisis, Sheffield United, Fulham round 2. Instead of playing the second team, getting knocked out, give the kids a go. I'd have more of a problem, less of a problem, should I say, going out. That's the case. But I think that you have to give them a run of 5-6 games starting. And it doesn't mean playing 90 minutes. It could be playing 45, 50, or 60 minutes. When are we going to give these players, I know it doesn't apply necessarily to goalkeepers, but generally, when are we going to give them the opportunity? Arsenal with Nketiah, and it didn't work. I respect that, but that's because the type of player. He was given a good run. Half a dozen of games starting, and I think they should come to the judgment he wasn't good enough. Smith Rowe couldn't guarantee minutes, goes out the door. I just feel that everything Arsenal are a long way ahead of us, and I hate to use them as an example, but they utilise their youth in the right way. They got a lot. Fulham broke their record transfer for Smith Rowe. I think it'd be a good asset to them, as I spoke to Barney, etc. I don't think that they should have spent that much on him, to be honest with you. I think Arsenal got a good deal out of it, but when we try and do that, we keep him for even longer and then decrease his value. It just doesn't make sense. We need to use Saudi to our advantage with Højbjerg, who should have found a way to try and get him to Saudi. I mean, one thing I do want to say, Lewis, is Lo Celso. What do you price tag on him at the moment? If you look for him to move, because that's interesting. Because Lo Celso is a player I've never really taken to, but I could be happy to keep his competition for Maddison. It's not what I want; it's what Ange wants, but it depends. I think a large amount on the price tag. So, what do you value him at? If you were Daniel Levy, what would you listen to price-wise?
20 million, 25 million. I don't think it'll be
that low.
More than that.
How much should we pay for him? More than that.
No, I think it was about that. I mean, I can't see it because he's been here for 4 years now, and he's had no successful seasons. He's had injuries all the time. It's very weird with Lo Celso because he's always injured for Spurs, but then as soon as international duty comes up from Argentina, he's fit again, and he gets injured, and then it's just so annoying. I think his career is basically just for Argentina anymore.
I think they put a lot in, though, for Argentina, and then they come back not 100%. Because if you're not 100% as a footballer, it's easy to get injured. It sounds silly, but you run the risk of getting injury, and I think that it's just a high demand system. And he's played under Mourinho and Conte, who demand a lot, and you're doing a lot for them really. And then Ange's a high demand system as well, so. Maybe that's a part of it. I don't quite know, but I'm in agreement with players that move on. Lo Celso, if we can get, as Ronnie says, 10 million. I was thinking 25, 30, but so it shows that. But maybe
I can't. I think 10 is too low. There's a quality player there. He's been out on loans to Villarreal, and they utilised him a lot. I mean, I think he offers something. I just don't.
I agree with this, but there needs competition for Maddison because he's not all that in pre-season. I'm not saying Maddison shouldn't start. We need someone to keep him on his toes because players get complacent again. I'm not saying that's Maddison. I'm talking about players in general, and I'm someone, and I'm sure Andrew feel the same. That if you're not playing good enough, you don't get in the team. There's a run in the Champions League where Kane didn't play good enough. You don't play him. It's not about the caliber. Mora starts the Champions League final on form. It has to be on form, not over the overall player. That's what I think. So I think 10 million is low, Ronnie, but I totally agree with you in terms of potentially getting him gone. I'd try and hold out for 25, and then if we can, then take it. But it would be the end of the world keeping him, but it just needs to stay fit. That's a priority. Players bring it in. If it was again your window, who would you bring in? Lewis. And if I said to you, let's say we sign Solanke and Neto from now to the end of the window, would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I would be very happy with that. I feel like, the only issue I have with Neto is his injuries. I think that it's just a little worry that we've seen. Solanke, he's played all 30-year games for Bournemouth last season. He's played every single game. I know he doesn't have European football to worry about, so it's a little bit easier for him. Neto didn't have that anyway. But Neto is just, he got quality. I think he's just too injury prone, and I'm not really in the position that I want to be dropping 30 million on a player and that he's only available for half the time. That's obviously an issue considered Chiesa.
Do you think it'll already be 30 million? I think Wolves might want a bit more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I just don't want to drop. Even if it was Neto or Chiesa, these players, these wingers, they're too injury prone. They haven't had a successful long season just because they play 5 games. They're good 5 games. They get injured, and I don't think we should be in a position to drop loads of money on players that are just this injury prone. But I feel like based off quality, Solanke and Neto, I think that's a great window.
Yeah, I'd take Solanke and Neto. What would you rate it out of 10? Forgetting outgoings a minute, I know it obviously does make a difference to you, in particular players like Emerson. But if Solanke and Neto came in, what would it look like out of 10 for you? I'm thinking a 7, 7.5,
Yeah,
maybe a bit higher.
7 or 8. I mean, obviously that's judging the few signings we've already made, like Archie Gray. I think that's a fantastic signing, and that I felt like so long ago. That's how long this has gone on. I mean, we're not signing. Obviously, Lucas Berthel walked through the door. Obviously, that was the signing we made in January, and we obviously I'm in Akian, but that's still not till January as well. And so, I think we just need. We're not signing players that are going to walk straight into our first team, which is a big worry, because teams like West Ham. I'm getting worried about West Ham. I'm getting really worried about West Ham because I think the signings, the players that are going after, they're instantly improving their starting 11. I'm being very honest. When West Ham might actually finish higher than us this season.
Somerville's done, isn't it? Is there any others? I know that I've heard a couple. They've reached agreements and they're after.
They've got Somerville. They're looking at Fulkrug, the German striker. They're looking at Wan-Bissaka.
That'll be big. That'll be different. But their defence worries me a little bit. I know they brought in Kilman. Kilman, will make a difference, but the rest of the defence.
But they're also looking at Wan-Bissaka, who wants to leave United. And if they were to sign there's a sign Wan-Bissaka, Fulkrug, Somerville. That is a fantastic window for them. And Kilman as well. It's a brilliant window. And
if they keep hold of players as well.
You look at West Ham and they're signing players that are walking into their starting 11 who are instantly making a massive impact. You're looking at us, a bigger club, that's for sure. We're a big club than West Ham. We've got more money than West Ham. And why are we not doing it? I don't know.
I'm happy we signed Archie Gray. And I like what we've seen on pre-season, but you spent, 40 million on an 18-year-old? Can't that be spent on someone in the forward line like Ivan Toney first? I'm glad that he's come in, don't get me wrong, and I'm not being ungrateful or anything like that. But the priority of this window has to be the front line. If we're only going to spend, not spend, above 100 million, then I'd like a large portion of that to go towards, if not the majority, towards the forward line. I think that Archie Gray shouldn't happen until then. And I've watched Leeds a few times this season. I know you've got Championship Player of the Season. I don't think that's necessarily a huge thing. I do like the Championship. There's a lot of good players, I suppose. He just didn't stand out to me when watching Leeds, to be honest with you. It was Somerville, it was Notto at times. But I didn't watch Leeds enough to know Leeds fans seemed excited about him. So I could be wrong on this one, to be honest with you. But I do think that kind of wraps us up nicely about today. Do you want to touch on Jed Spence, Lewis?
Oh, yeah, it was just that Alistair Gold had an interview with Ange Postecoglou, and they talked that it was earlier today, and that Ange and his coach have been very impressed with Jed Spence, which it's good to hear because I want Jed Spence to stay. Good. And him staying obviously results in us not having to buy a right back as well. So I just wanted to. I mean, it's good that Ange is noticing this as well, and I think and based off the coaches being very impressed with him, I think he's going to stay.
Okay, that's really good to hear. It's really good to hear. I'd love him to keep it up. Someone like Ivan Toney, I know we're linked to Solanke. Can you see that happening at all? I mean, I think Brentford keep Toney now after recent events with injury. I think it's more pay, or certainly got a striker out injured. So I do think they keep hold of Toney. But I don't know about you. I can't see Toney happening. He doesn't seem the right fit for Ange. Doesn't seem like a Tottenham and Daniel Levy signing. I just can't ever imagine Ivan Toney joining Tottenham. It just doesn't feel right. Someone who supported Liverpool as a kid and rather play for Arsenal the other way around. I just can't see it happening. And Levy wanted someone that hasn't said sorry for the allegations or what he's done. I can't imagine it happening. Can you?
I did. I imagined it a few weeks ago. I thought it was actually going to happen. And I know we were, obviously, him being at the Euros delayed all transfer talk because he's focused on the Euros, whatever. I think it has only been the last week that I've started to maybe think we weren't going to get him. And I think now with this Solanke news, I think we've got to go for Solanke. I do. I think, Toney is a great player. I wouldn't mind to have him. I just think, obviously, with what's happened with his betting scandals and all that, and I think just the player, obviously with the injury, with Brentford, they probably want even more money from him now because they won't have a fit striker until January now, which is what happened with them last season. Because obviously he was out January, they were playing Wisser, their winger up front, they had to do that. So I think they'd probably want even more money for it now, and then it would probably be very similar amounts between Tony and Solanke, and one of them's 2 years younger. You get more years out of them. Solanke played all games, Premier League games last season. Obviously, we played about 17 games last season, 21 less than Solanke. Obviously, that is due to him not being able to play between August and January. But even when he came back, he only got 6 goal contributions in those 17, which I thought we might have a bit higher than that.
Yeah, it was more pay, really, and I don't like him. Don't like the fella, but he's the one who stood out towards that second half of the season. Really, and that's why Brentford play with their front two, which they just don't usually do. So there you go. Dutch says Bournemouth do not want to sell Dominic Solanke. Is unlikely that Tottenham will meet the 26-year-old's demand 65 million release clause from Gary Jacob. So we're hearing from Gary Jacob. I don't know when this is, so if you could let us know, Dutch, but. Bournemouth do not want to sell Solanke. That's believable. I think we know that, and unlikely that Tottenham would meet the demand of 65 million release clause. I suppose that's also believable. So we're hearing this news, Lewis. It's not a surprise. It's a shame that we're hearing this. But should Tottenham splash the cash? And I say this a lot, but surely why wouldn't you? If you believe that Ange Postecoglou is going to succeed, if you don't believe, then he shouldn't be here. I'm for all backing a manager, or they shouldn't be here. There shouldn't be any in between, should there really, in a club like Tottenham Hotspur? And his system requires top level players, as we said. So, what do you make of these news, assuming it's fairly recent?
It's not a surprise to me. I think as a club, I don't think you'll progress if you're going for your second or your third options in these positions just because of money wise. I've said it before. You're not going to get anywhere if you identify a player and you want him, but then you go, oh, it costs too much. You go for your second best player. You're just not going to get anywhere because you're having players that you don't necessarily want because you want someone else. You need to push. You need to go on. And we're not going to get anywhere as a club if we're going, oh, we want Solanke, but we cost too much, so we have to go for this player. Oh, he costs too much, we have to go for this player. We're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to keep going backwards if we're signing players that we don't necessarily want just because they're a cheaper option. So I think at some point, if we're going to succeed, at some point you're going to have to spend 60, 70 million on a player. I mean, Man United have done it. Players like Antony spent 80 million on him, and obviously that is a massive failure. But they've done it and they've moved on. But if it was a Daniel Levy who spent 80 million on a player and it just didn't work out, he would be livid with himself and he would never do it again.
No. That's not a good example in terms of transfers working out well, but I know what you mean in terms of splashing the cash and just getting it done. Which we've done, but we end up signing the wrong players. I don't know who Levy gets in Levy's ear, but Doppele. We knew there's talent, but to make that risk is crazy, and then do it with Lo Celso. Just players that we overpay for, where it be Sissoko is a last-minute deadline deal because we've got nothing done and left it too long. But the reality is, at this rate, we're not getting into the top four. West Ham have got an improved. Aston Villa have got an improved. Palace are improving and ended the season really, really well. Nearly got into Europe, and I think next season will be a big force for Europe. Other teams are improving.
I know that Barney's here. I mean, I'm really impressed with Fulham. I think even though you can make the argument that we probably paid a bit more than necessary for Smith Rowe, I think it's a great sign. And I don't like to praise Arsenal players because
it's showing ambition. It's going to be overspent, but they put the player in. That's the reality. But I think I was worried about them when they lost Paulinho. I was worried when they lost him.
I was, but they're signing players. People like Smith Rowe. I don't like to praise Arsenal players, but it's a good signing. You can't deny that. Obviously, we know he's got injury issues and concerns, but I think if I'm a Fulham fan, you're happy with the business they're doing. You're happy with the players you're linked to. That's for sure. I think players like Smith Rowe and that's Spanish centre back they're interested in. I keep forgetting his name. It's showing ambition, and we're not doing that. So they're making good progress. I think clubs like Palace, Fulham, West Ham, they could be closer to them what we thought we might be, just because they're making a lot of progress in the window when we're not.
But Fulham owners, they know that Marco Silva is the manager to get the best out of players, whether it be young players or players that hasn't worked with it. Smith Rowe, not guaranteed game time at Arsenal. Or it'd be Sessegnon, that's another player they brought in. They brought that Spanish centre-back, I think, in Villarreal. If they are going to mount a potential Europe charge, assuming they finish at the top 10 and beyond, etc., Marco Silva's a manager to do it. They know that, Fulham. And Marco Silva's a manager who doesn't spend too long at the club. Very keen to get moved on. Sometimes he has been sacked, but he doesn't tend to spend
I think no, but
A
I think
long
with
time
Fulham,
at a club.
yeah, no, I think I think he managed. Is it Watford and Everton previously? I could be wrong about that.
Watford, Everton, Hull, yeah. None
Yeah,
of them
but
ended really well, to be honest,
I
because he
think
wasn't given time.
this Fulham, well, this patch he's got with Fulham though. I think I think Marcus Silva could be there for another 3 years, maybe even 4. I think he's definitely the right man for the job. You can't see anyone else better suited to that Fulham job. So I
Well,
think he's found the right team.
Fulham lost 2 huge players in Mitrovic and Paulinho, and they cut with Mitrovic really well. And the recruitment was excellent
They
to bring
did.
in Muniz
Muniz, that's that. Yeah, that's brilliant.
just getting best out of Iwobi and Willian, who we all thought was finished a long time ago. That's Marco Silva's strength, getting the best out of players when it looks like their career's over. And I'm not saying it is for Smith Rowe, but he's turning into a world beater. I've always said if Dele Alli is going to go anywhere, it has to be under Marco Silva to get the best out of him. I think that he has the talent. When he just is coming up with that surprise. So Fulham, well, yeah, and Fulham are securely in our Premier League team. Whereas, yeah, they weren't before Marco
100%.
Silva. Not being funny, they're up and
100%.
down. They were
I think
yo-yoing teams. So
if you're a Fulham fan, I think if you're a Palace, Fulham, West Ham fan, you could probably be dreaming of European football. I think Palace could finish 10th, maybe around that position. West Ham could probably push for Europe. I think Fulham could maybe be just outside the European spot. The business they're doing is amazing. These clubs I mentioned, they're all London clubs as well. Why are we with a London club that's falling behind it? And I don't like it because all our London rivals, maybe bar Chelsea, I'll say. I mean, Chelsea is signing a lot of young players, but they're not going to improve their starting 11 now. I think these London clubs are doing great business, and I'm getting a bit worried because we're definitely one London club that's falling behind. And is our starting 11 from last season going to push on again to get a Champions League spot? Because normally you would want signings to help you push on. It's going to be the same starting 11 as it was last season, and that's not the best. You would want at least 1 or 2 players who different faces.
exactly, and I'll keep saying this, and it's all right keeping your core bunch of players, but that starting 11 last season, not being funny, it got us 5th, and that was a really good season under Postecoglou. But we're looking to get into the top 4, probably as a minimum. No, I don't think it's been disrespectful. Yeah, we've got in the top 4 a lot in recent years, and that is where we should be and deserve to be. But, and that's the same 11 that got 5th, and other teams around us are improving their 11. So surely you're only going to go backwards. One team I won't worry about is Chelsea, but I do worry about Palace. I do worry about West Ham. I do even worry about the Fulhams of this world and Newcastle. If they bring in the right players, I don't think they will be able to. With FFP, bring in Solanke, bring in Neto, shift a couple of players, that can change. But we've left it a long while. I think it's good to work with players in pre-season, but we just have to get it done before Leicester. That won't be an easy game.
Yeah, we waited too long. We've waited too long. We need to get
as long as they
happen.
happen.
Yeah, as long as they happen, that's fine.
But as long as they happen in the end, but they should have come in.
If the deadline comes and we haven't signed a striker or even a winger or something, we could be worrying. It's worrying times considering we thought that we had quite a few signings walking through the door, and it's not good. And if I'm Postecoglou and he's not getting the players he wants, he's probably starting to thinking that is this the club I want to be at because they're not backing me anymore.
I get Dutch's worries in the comment because the second season for a manager at Tottenham is hard. And Ange Postecoglou was the first manager to complete a full season, I think, since 2018-19 season with Pochettino. That says all you need to know. A manager not getting a full season, that shouldn't be heard of in football. That's just not right. I don't believe in that. There's no reason to sack a manager during the season. I don't think there's any benefit for a team. And we've learned that, and I can see it. And I hate to say it, and I really hope I'm wrong. But I think something about Ange. There's something. It gave me something towards the start of last season. I know it was it might have been a new manager bounce, but he saw some special times, also some awful times last season. But I hope it's not the second syndrome thing with the manager at Tottenham. But I think that kind of wraps us up nicely for today. So thank you everyone who listened, who put their questions in, and continues to support these lives. So if people don't know. We are on X, etc. So do drop us a follow at Scarfy Spurs Talk. For the Bayern game tomorrow, there'll be updates throughout the game. Also, there will be for the following game at home. I'll be providing those updates as Lewis is going on holiday. Hope you have an excellent holiday, by the way. And thank you to everyone, as I said, for listening, for tuning in, and for your continued support. But Lewis, where can people find you across social media? Obviously you're admin for Scarfy Spurs Talk as well, but also your own page.
Yeah, well, my personal account, the handle Romero 17 season, is where I just post random stuff, maybe a lot about Spurs and a lot about my own thoughts and my own opinions on what Spurs are doing and football-related content on that.
Lovely, thank you very much. You can follow me there at HarryScarf22 on Instagram, TikTok, and X, or Twitter, as you call it. That would be massively appreciated. But for now, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. And Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. And Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, he looks so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou,